When Governor DeSantis suspended State Attorney Andrew Warren, it signaled a turning point in Florida politics. Elected servants were now targets in the culture war, and the governor was willing to use every lever of power at his disposal to do what he thought was necessary, after Warren signed a pledge to not prosecute cases involving abortion. In the 2 years since, Warren has fought DeSantis in the arena he knows best, court, and he finally won, sort of. A federal appeals court ruled against DeSantis but did not reinstate Warren. For that, he'll have to be reelected. And as he told me this week, he's ready to run.
The Supreme Court gave the states unchecked authority to criminalize private medical decisions made between a woman and her doctor.
When you're saying you're not going to enforce certain laws you don't like, that's a neglect of duty.
If you're elected state attorney again, but the abortion amendment fails, would you enforce or prosecute cases against someone who's accused of violating Florida's 6-week abortion ban if that ban is held in place?
Paul, I'm proudly a supporter of a woman's right to choose. I believe that the criminal justice system should not be prosecuting, putting doctors and women in jail, in prison for their private healthcare decisions. And actually, by speaking out about that, speaking out against a law that the vast majority of Floridians disagree with, I was suspended. But as a prosecutor, as a federal prosecutor and as the state attorney, I always follow the law, exercising my discretion based on the facts and circumstances of the case. That's what I've always done. It's what I'll always do.
Do you feel like if a case were to be brought for you under that context, that this ban is held into place and someone is found to have violated a doctor or even a mother, would you be forced to prosecute that case?
We're never forced to prosecute again. We uphold the law, exercising discretion based on the facts of the case. What I won't do, what the acting state attorney would do, is pick up the phone and call the governor and follow his marching orders. That's not the way independent prosecutors work. That's not what this community wants.
What's to stop the governor from removing you again?
Well, the law. The law is what should have stopped him from removing me the first time. Anyone who understands our Constitution, anyone who understands how democracy works, knows that the governor can't just throw out an election because he doesn't like the winner, knows that you can't just punish someone because, like I was doing, exercise my First Amendment right to speak out on abortion, an issue of public importance. Now, I don't know whether the governor just skimmed that part of the Constitution or skipped that day in law school, but he clearly didn't understand the law. But now 2 separate courts have told him, you can't do this. That is illegal and unconstitutional.
How would your leadership differ than that of your successor, Susie Lopez?
I was asked to bring this office back to basics by making sure we prosecute based on the rule of law.
I led the office with a strategic vision of maximizing public safety by going after the criminals who pose the greatest threat to our community, by implementing policies that were proven to reduce crime. The acting state attorney likes to take pictures. That's really the difference. I was elected based on my vision, my values, my track record of success.
Is that fair, though? You don't think she's tough on crime?
She was appointed because of her politics. And voters elected and re-elected me because of the success we had in reducing crime. We went after murderers, rapists, child predators, domestic abusers, illegal guns and gun violence. She was put into office because she's willing to prosecute women and doctors for abortions.
Former Mayor Bob Buckhorn, who's a Democrat, says that Lopez has the support of the law enforcement community. Is that a weakness for you? Do you have to win law enforcement over?
Look, political endorsements are political, right? The question is, who is the best person to lead the state attorney's office with a vision to keep Hillsborough safe? I have that track record of success. We were tough on violent crime. All the things that I just talked about that we accomplished by going after the people who pose the greatest threats. I was proud of the success that we had, success with law enforcement. I was proud that law enforcement stood with me as we implemented and announced these programs that made our community safer. But let's be clear, while I've been tough on violent crime, Ms. Lopez has been soft on violent crime. That is a critical distinction. I put the worst of the worst murderers on death row. She plea bargained with a serial killer. Who does that? Who sits down across from Ted Bundy or Danny Rawling or the Seminole Heights serial killer and plea bargains with them? That was an affront to the 4 innocent victims, to their families, and to everyone in Hillsborough.
And we should mention we've invited Susie Lopez on the show, and she should be here next week to discuss all of these issues and to respond to what you're saying. But I'm just wondering, from a voter's perspective here, if they're thinking, should the state attorney's office even be a political position and affiliated with Republican or Democrat, how much does politics factor into your approach to a case and to your day-to-day function as a state attorney?
Well, it doesn't at all. I mean, the truth is that it is an elected position, and the voters decide who's in office, and the person who's in office should be exercising prosecutorial discretion, following the law based on the values and the priorities of the community, and that's exactly what I did. That's why I was reelected.
Where is the line when it comes to what have been criticized as activist judges or activist prosecutors versus what some would criticize the governor as being, which is using his position of power to pull all the levers available to him to further his agenda? And the voters left there wondering what to believe.
It's a great question, right? How do we know the truth when one side tends to lie all the time? Look at what the court said. Don't take my opinion on it. Read what the court said. And the court said very clearly, I did my job. I did it in the way that I told voters that I would. There was not a hint of misconduct. I didn't break any law. I didn't do anything wrong, and it was the governor who broke state and federal law in suspending me for political reasons. Those are indisputable facts. And even though the governor stands up and continues with his false talking points about what I did and the basis for the suspension, it does not change the fact that the courts ruled against him and said what he did was unconstitutional and that I deserve to be reinstated.
Would you have done anything differently over these last 2 years?
I mean, nothing significantly, no. I mean, this is about fighting for the values that we all cherish as Americans. And I didn't ask to be the tip of the spear in this fight, but the governor brought this fight to me, and I'm not one to walk away from a fight that I believe in. So to my innermost core, I mean, I couldn't justify to my kids telling them I didn't stand up and fight for free speech and the rule of law and our democracy, things that we all believe in and cherish so much. And I'm proud of the fight that we fought over the past 2 years.
Andrew Warren, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on Full Circle Florida, our final thoughts on the week that was and the week ahead.